Sorry, I mean, what's your worst experience dealing in this business that you ever dealt with before?
Not able to help people in the way that they need to be helped, I think, is the worst story. Because sometimes it just doesn't work out, and for a number of reasons. Typically, it's either the credit score is way lower than what it needs to be. A person doesn't have the down payment, or those are common things that keep popping up that speak to why a person is not able to move forward in what they think. I get a lot of calls for, even though we're an alternative lender, there's still standards, if you will. So it doesn't mean that we can finance everybody that calls. So we try to be very, very, very quick in making an evaluation of what the situation is and what options we may have to actually be able to help people. And if, I'm working with someone who says they want to buy a piece of property. What we see a lot of times is businesses that's been in business for a number of years and maybe even very successful, according to their terms. But what they do is they'll take their tax returns for their business and minimize tax consequences, right? Which means that, okay, yeah, I'm a $2 million business, but I made $25,000. Well, don't they help you when you do that to minimize what kind of taxes you pay? They don't help you when you come to an organization or you now try to do things like, oh, okay, I want to buy a piece of real estate through my business that my business can sit in, or expand my business because we're doing well. I want to open a second location. Well, if you can't prove through your business operations that you can afford that, it's going to be very difficult. And those are the types of things that we see. And people don't understand that correlation. What they have is one objective. That objective is to minimize my taxes. But then they say, oh yeah, well, I'm doing well. I want to renovate my building. And that may be a $500,000 type of renovation or expansion of that building to do more in it to actually generate more revenue. All great things, but if your current revenue doesn't show that it can support that new debt, then we got a problem. And unless they want to go back and restate those numbers, they probably won't be successful because those are some of the reasons. But we do a lot of good things. For instance, we can help people consolidate debt. We can help people get out of some of those MCAs that they got, merchant cash advances that they got because they were hungry for cash and they went and got one, and that one turned into four. We can help businesses. I'm helping a company right now move from a rented location to a place that becomes their own because they're buying a location. I'm helping another person who's expanding their smoothie shops. They're going from 5 of them to about 7 or 8 of them. And we're helping them get money for those expansions. So there are a number of things that we do that are very, very positive in terms of helping business owners advance their own cause. And we have products that once we hear what you're trying to do, we might be able to identify a product that you might not have thought of that allows you to get the resources, maybe not in the way that you thought, but allows you to get the resources that help your company. I have tons of companies, Chanel, that come in and they may say, hey, look, I need $100,000 working capital. That working capital is really a function of cash flow issues that they're having in their company, but they have either heard bad things about AR financing or don't know that it exists, one of the two. And once we try to show them the benefits of using that program versus what their intentions are of a term loan that turns out, because what happens in a term loan is you get an advance of money. I don't care what the number is, 100,000, 10,000, or $1 million is dumped in your accounts, and now you start to use it. Well, once it's gone, it could be gone in 30 days, right? But now the problems that you have in your business that created that don't go away. They're back in 60 days. And you don't have the opportunity to go back to that lender and say, oh, I need another 100,000 or another million. Many times the problem isn't trying to get the term loan. The problem is your cash flow isn't what it needs to be based on how people are paying you, or how you're invoicing them, or how you're collecting on those invoices. And those are solvable with the types of loans that are replenished based on your customers paying. Because if you don't have the ability for it to regenerate itself based on those customers paying, you're going to be back in that same position in a very short period of time, and you won't realize how you got there. And when you do that and you got a term loan, now you're back in that same position, and you got another bill on top of it for that term loan that you got.
So, yeah, that's crazy. You're squeezing money out of money that potentially didn't have to be that way.
That's exactly right. And they look at all these things and think that I can do it based on how. I had one client who kept solving a short-term need with long-term money. What that means is they kept going back to real estate that they had and refinancing real estate long-term, but they were having a short-term problem. So they just kept trying to refinance. And of course, at some point, you run out of opportunities to refinance that real estate because you reached your maximums. And once they reached that, then they didn't have anywhere to turn. So they finally listened to what we were telling them about the AR financing. And that solved all their problems permanently, not one time, permanently.